Hey guys, welcome to this week's Studio Hot Rods Restoration Revelations. I'm Harry. I'm the crazy guy that builds those Chevelles with the 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty. I come up with all kinds of innovative ideas and components that we put in the cars, and usually every week I show you one or two things. Actually, I'm gonna show you two. One's gonna be now, one's gonna be later, but this week, we're like gonna dig into the ultimate car change. I'm swapping the motor in a Chevelle, but not from a big block to an LS or a small block to an LS, from an LS back to a big block, a 502. It's pretty cool. We're gonna be changing over the engine, and we're gonna be changing over the rear end in it. I'm gonna walk you guys through details this week. I'm actually gonna show you how to do it. Usually I don't do that in the episodes, but this week, it's not just gonna be like my innovation. See this little innovation? This little centerpiece that we made clips into the center of the dash. This is like a defect that just don't work all that well. I always am making the improvements for the cars and the pieces and the parts. Anyways, at the end, we do a Bible study together. Okay, lastly, we start this car show. That is gonna be an online car show where we all share the cars together, the ideas together. I'm even gonna put together a car corral. Just stay tuned, like, subscribe, follow along. If you love hot rods and muscle cars, man, you are gonna love what we're doing this week. Very informative. Dr. Harry is in the house. Let me show you the first invention. It's cool. It's just invention, idea, invention. These two cars are getting ready to have all the test miles driven on them. They're super, super close, but every little challenge brings me to the next solution that makes it unique and makes it different. What's cool about this is these dashes always are a pain in the butt to get in play, but look at this. If you come in close on it, Murph, did it snap? Yep. Snapped. But what's cool about that, guys, look at this. Now, as you get your car together and all the rest of the stuff, that is the biggest pain in the butt right there. Simple solution. Anyways, all right, guys, we're about ready to get going with the episode. I have these little gap tools that we make on our 3D printer, and what they are is a way to measure the gaps on your doors, on your hood. Great little giveaway. At the end of the episode, there's gonna be a link. I've given 800 of these away, and you can have one too. If you already have one, don't get another one, right? Why would you do that? Take it to a car show, and everybody's gonna hate you. It's gonna be a lot of fun this week. Let's get to unswapping that 71 Chevelle. Oh yeah. So check it out. This is the first car I built out of my shop in 2015. I dropped an LM7 in it, a 71 Chevelle, I would have thought. And I put that thing together. The guy drove it for 22,000 miles, ended up selling it back to me. I didn't even know what I was gonna do with it. Young man walked into my shop and said, hey, is that one for sale? I knew him. He actually kind of grew up with my son, and Max is a really cool kid. He's like, I want a big block in it. And I'm like, I just might have one. That right there is a Ramjet, the 502 Ramjet that I had. I was going to put that 57 Chevy, but from learning what I've learned, that independent suspension in the 57 Chevy would not be a good combination with a big block. It's too much horsepower, too much torque, but this one is pretty special. So before I put it in there, I'm going to start looking into what is the condition of this motor totally. So let's do some tests on it and see how it goes. This is a nice big block head in front of me, and we're going to do a test on it to see if the valves are actually seating and sealed up well before we put the motor together. Obviously, the head's off the car. This is the 502 head. This is isopropyl alcohol. It's really, really thin. What you're going to do is you pour the fluid into it, right, and you watch for a leak. Pour a little in here. Try not to make a mess. So the good news is we got two of them filled. Nothing's leaking out at either side. We're doing really well. I'm going to go for this one at the end. Remember, we're looking for it to come out on the exhaust port or the intake port. We got all three good on this side. Let's go for the last one. So you see dry port. All the exhaust valves are definitely sealing up just perfect. This one, dry. Oh, we got a river right there. This, leaking out of there, coming right through there, and it's going right through the intake. The intake is the bigger valve. We'll go ahead and rework that head just a little bit. That's kicking it old school with Harry. Oh yeah. When you're installing a Holley sniper unit in a conventional manifold like this one, there's something a lot of people don't know what to do. Also, you should always port match your gaskets. That means you actually take the gaskets and use it as a template to port these out. I already did it, but let me show you exactly how we got there, and then I'm gonna give you the real trick at the end. All right, those are the 502 gaskets. They are perfectly matched to the head. You put them on the intake, you draw on the inside where you want to take the material away, and ba-bam! It's actually that easy. Smooth it out, clean it up, and get ready to put it back on the car. Now let me show you why you want to block off these plates right here when you install the Holley sniper unit. The reason is, this is an exhaust port that actually warms up the intake manifold, actually makes it more fumy. Like instead of less particulate matter, it's got more fumes going into the motor. And really it's only there when you got a choke and it's cold out. You don't need that anymore with the new Holley unit. It's gonna keep your fuel cooler and it's gonna run better. All right, guys, you can see that we have dropped this 502 now in, that we did all the prep work for it. You know, checking the heads, getting everything set up just right, porting the intake manifold. And then once we got it in the car, we ran into other situations. We had to find the right set of headers for it. Okay, here you got the raised cylinder exhaust port. So it's really a little bit different header. We had to find a header that would fit just right with it as it all kind of nests itself together. Then don't forget, you got to change the oil pan as well. So there's a lot of monkeying around we had to do to get it to fit in there. It's got the sniper on top of it, and then we're running the Terminator for all the electronics to actually make that thing work and run. We've got to fab the exhaust, and then we're going to jump into that rear end. The rear end is what I'm going to show you some details. Now, I talk about a lot of things, right? And every one of them takes details, but I don't know if you got all day. So we're going to focus on the rear end. Here is a 10-bolt rear end in a A-body Chevelle. We're going to actually convert it over into a pos unit and change the gear ratio in it. Let me show you the appropriate way to do that. So what we did was we took the brake assembly apart, and I want to pull the axles out. But to get the axles out, the first thing you got to do is you got to take this end cap off right here, right? Get that going. You should always mark these to make sure that you put them back in the right spot. I've already put an R on that one. This bolt right here comes out, right? This is the set bolt for this piece right here. There you go. See, I've already got it loose so we can show you really quick how it comes apart. But this right here, this pin comes out. Come on out, honey. There she comes. Okay, this pin holds the axles in position so you can get to the C-clips. Now, the trick on this thing is you got to actually push the axles in. It's always a good idea to grab a magnet. There you go. So anyways, when you push in this axle, check it out. You got to be right in here, Murph. Oh, that's bad. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to push that axle in, and there's the C-clip. See it? I got my magnet on it. So you don't drop it now. You can pull the whole axle assembly out of it. Check it out. Comes right out. And this is the stock axle from GM. And you can see, this is a quick performance. We got their high performance. It takes more torque and that kind of stuff. If you look at the shaft, you can see this shaft, the new shaft, is much thicker in this area than this. And it's made with a different type of alloy, a different type of metal. So it's stronger. You can make a 10-bolt pretty darn strong. Pull the other axle out of it. I'm just going to take it out halfway right now because we can take this other bearing cap off. Again, make sure you mark left and right. It's just a good habit on these bearing caps because these bearing caps are super important. The next thing that's going to happen is we'll take that center section out of it, and we're going to work on that because that's where the pos unit goes. And then we're going to have to pull the pinion out of it, right? That's in the front, but I'll show you how it works. Here's your bearings that are holding this thing inside. Now what we got to do, push that carrier to one side or the other so you can grab the bearings on it, and you just go ahead and slide that bad boy out. Do not drop it. Right here now is your pinion. The next thing we're gonna have to do is take this out of it as well. Because with a new set of gears, you get a new ring gear and a new pinion gear. Let's get on it. Now we got the axles out, we got the center section out of it. Basically just pop both the races out of it. Now I've already loosened this thing up, so it's gonna go out real easy, but the pinion gear is out of it now. So you just hit on the back of it right there and here, and you'll end up knocking it out. Come on, baby. There you go. Let me show you the difference in the carrier sections in the back. We've got a pos unit going into it, way different than the carrier that came from the OEM, right? Because we want Positraction. This is a stock carrier, and I'm gonna teach you guys something really cool about it. Why like a Ford 9-inch is called the 9-inch, but I'll get there in a second. See the spider gears? This gives it the ability to actually have no relationship from one axle to the other. Either one of them could freewheel frontwards or backwards. This is what we call the gear center section for a one-wheel wonder. However, we are going to change that because now we got that big block in that 502 in that 71 Chevelle that I'm building for Max. And we're going to go ahead and install this one. See this? These are the clutch packs right here that you see. These actually keep the wheels spin in the same direction. They're shimmed on both sides. It puts friction on both sides, and this center section is a nice high-end quality center section. So we'll throw that in there, and that way you got a nice posi unit. If you ever get a posi unit that goes bad, it's these clutch packs. They're shimmed down on both sides. They actually go bad. If you see the color of the springs, that'll tell you the resistance on it as well. All right, let's pound some new studs into the axles and keep her going. To start the reassembly is going to take a bit more work, but I did want to give you guys one little tidbit. This is for the 10 bolt rear end that's going to go in there, and if you look at the side of it, you'll actually see it will most likely right here. Look at that. This is a GM 8.2. And the reason that matters is the bigger the gear, the stronger iron. So you got a Ford 9-inch, guess what? 9-inch ring gear. Get it? All right, there's a lot more that goes into this thing, and we're going to set it up. So when you rebuild the rear end, it's different with a 10 bolt or a 12 bolt because typically you can do a lot of this work on the bench if you have a 9-inch, right? But since it's a Chevy rear end, we're actually pushing the races into it while it's still sitting up in the car. So this is the pinion race up front, right? That's where the bearing sits. It holds a pinion in it. And then we put the backside of that bearing together as well. So it's got to squeeze together. This is kind of cool. This is my dad's old sharpening stone, but it's a great thing. These are super flat. So I just put some of the old gear lube on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on this top surface of this gear set before we put it in there. And I'm looking for any high spots. There's a high spot. See right there? We want to make sure that any high spots are on it are knocked off before we go ahead and mount it to the new carrier. So I'm just taking this nice flat surface that my daddy gave me like many moons ago, right? And I'm just checking this thing because this surface has to mate perfectly with that surface. I got one little high spot right there. See it? How it's shiny right there? You could do this with a file or anything else. That's real. Look at the high spots. See those high spots? High spots right there a little bit. Pretty straightforward. Looks good. A little high spot there. Now if it's a real high spot or something sharp, you would know it real fast with a tool of my daddy's. See that? We're good. Don't just buy a part out of the box and expect it to be good. Nice clean surface. Nice clean surface. A little bit longer bolts because this thing's going to squish onto there as you get closer. What you don't want to do is try to get it close and then, well, it pretty much aligns it on there because this is, it's got a press fit, and once you start pulling on that thing, if you pull on it crooked, you're going to have a sandwich on your hands. We're setting the torque at 55 pounds on each one of these. It's kind of a pain in the butt to hold. That's a 3? Yeah. It don't look like a 3. Yeah, so really what we're doing is just setting each one of these bolts to a 55-pound torque spec so we don't blow the ring gear right off of this carrier. Got a little red Loctite on it. Next thing that's going to happen is we'll actually get the white stuff off of the pinion gear, but there's a number on here like I talked about before that has a depth to it. So do you see that 273? So that's the depth we're looking for to set up the pinion in the car first on the 10 bolt and on the 12 bolt. Super critical. That dimension is actually determined when they actually made this piece. So after it's actually produced, heat treated, and then they'll go one final time over it, and they'll know exactly what they're looking for when they set it up to the gear. Gear and the ring is matched together as a set. That's a 373 gear that'll go together on it, but I'll show you exactly how we got to set the pinion depth. This is where it gets wonky. It's kind of nice with a 9 bolt because it's outer 9-inch, 9 bolt. Look at a 10 bolt, 12 bolt, a 9 bolt. No, it's kind of nice when you get the I quit. It's kind of nice when you got the 9-inch rear end because you can actually put it all up here and you do all your work on the bench. When it's in the car, it's in the car. You got to work it that way. That's next. Setting up the rear end, you got to start with the pinion, right? Everybody's got an opinion. This thing's got a pinion. So this is that 10 bolt, right? And when you set up your pinion, what you're trying to do is get the distance and the amount of shims that are correct on the bottom here. So typically you'll get a set of setup bearings that you can buy at a bunch of different places, and it was driving me nuts, like how this works and how people put it together. And then I'm thinking about my 3D printers. Let me show you something I did in a minute, but I'm going to show you the fundamentals of this. What we do is there's shims under here, and there's a number right on there. Can you read that number, Murph? Can you see it? Is what you're looking for from a clearance from where the bearing cap mounts that holds in your bearings for your axles and where the pinion actually lands. So you can manage that distance by putting shims under here. You get a setup kit for most of these rear ends, and it's pretty straightforward, but you got to be able to figure out how to measure it. Let me show you what we did with this then. And this one's actually set up. We've been playing with it for a little while, putting in different bearings, putting it together. We actually made a little sleeve so it's faster and easier to actually set it on the front end of it as you go in with it. I got the nut going together with it. Now, a lot of guys, if you don't have the setup bearings or you don't have the right tools, you're going to be playing games. Hold on, let me grab one wrench. You're going to be playing games, pressing on your bearing, taking it off, pressing it back off. I don't have the crush sleeve in here yet because I'm just looking to make sure I take all the play out of this rear end, but it's pretty straightforward. So after you get that set up in there, you put your washers in there, you're able to set that pinion depth. This is the first thing. It's super critical. Basically, now that I got the pinion in there, what we're going to do is make sure it's got no play front to back. Grab a couple screws. This is just a finely tuned piece of machined aluminum that we set up to fit here. Now, they sell kits online that you can get. The crazy part is the kits come with those setup bearings. Now, the setup bearings are kind of unique because they're actually a real bearing, right? It's actually made for the car, but they hog out the center of it so it can slide over the pinion a lot easier. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, why in the world would I buy setup bearings when I have a 3D printer? Ba-bam! We printed this actually last night, and I'm going to test it. So I'm setting up the rear end, walking you through it. How do you shim it? How do you measure it? If you don't have this, you can just put a piece of aluminum back here and take your veneer caliper and just go over the top of it. You can take your veneer caliper and measure from the back edge of this to the pinion itself, which is a little bit more difficult of a move because you're going to kind of have to eyeball it up, right? And then you're going to have to try and figure out exactly how thick this is. You're going to have to measure this and subtract the distance of this versus the whole distance here. But we made this tool to be a little bit simpler. So it's really just this piece right here. This is just a pin that we made. Slides in and out. These are flat. They're in. I lock the pin in place, and now when I take that off, I can use the veneer caliper. And what we're doing is just validating it's at the 2.541. So anyways, it's 2 inches, 541 thousandths on top of it, right? Now, kids, I know that this thing is set up correctly, but I'm just going to show you with the caliper. What? How'd I do?
2 inch 544. Only 3 thousandths off. I'm going to say that's pretty done.
Well, here's the deal. The thinnest shim that they sell with the setup kits is 8 thousandths. So what does that tell you? That means that, you know, you're going to want to be within 4 thousandths either way, because you can take it in. If you're over, you take that out. You can be 4 thousandths over or 4 thousandths under. We're within 3 thousandths. Really good. Now the question is, will my widget work in the same situation? So again, I talked about it real briefly. This is called the setup bearing. It's actually quick performance. A lot of people will take these and they'll take a stone and they'll mill out or machine out the center of the bearings so it can slide on. If you can't slide it on, you got to press it on. And the bearing that's going on this thing, that's going to stay in the car, needs to be pressed onto the shaft. And it's almost like a size on size press. So if you were to have it to take and put those bearings on and off and on and off, you can damage the bearings and do all kinds of things. So at least invest in a set of setup bearings if you're going to try and do this at home, kids. Or I probably will come out with a setup kit for the rear end. Look at that. It slides in the same exact spot. Now the question is, when we put it in, does it actually come out to the same dimensions? All right, now that I installed my widget to see if it actually is the same measurement, I got this thing, I got that tight. Let me just pull it off, put a caliper on it, and see what the number is. It's always doing something creative and different, right? Drop those over there. What we're doing is measuring how far it is from where the race lands, right? The bearing holding flat that's on the side right here. Boom, to how far it is to the pinion. That's the critical number. I'm gonna do it with 2 hands, kids. Ugh. What about 10 thousandths the wrong direction? That doesn't mean I can't fix it. I will eventually, but hopefully you guys get the fundamentals of how this thing actually works. You actually take that pinion and you set the depth. Every pinion has a number on it when they manufacture it. When you think about the amount of power and torque, all the horsepower from this car is transferred from that pinion to that little yoke on the other side to your drive shaft. It's got to hit these tires, man. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward with this because the next thing we got to do now that we got the depth right, not with my widget in there, I got to take that out of there, but now that we got the pinion set right, we're going to go ahead and start putting in the ring gear assembly in the center section. That's the next trick. You got to actually align it from side to side because you got to figure out exactly, now we know our depth is right, you got to get the pattern right. So we'll put a little bit of crayon on there and we'll look at where it actually runs out on it, and then you got to center it. You shift the rear end right, you shift the rear end left, again, using shims. So here's what these are. These are the shims that basically go on the inner, on the left and the right side of the carrier, right? So the bearing's on there, right? And what's happening is we got to put a shim pack on each one of these sides. The shim packs look something like this. This is the carrier for the shim, and then the shims are in there. And what you're trying to do is balance the location of the center section in there, which sets your backlash. Your backlash is something I'm going to show you in a minute. We just had it in the first time. We moved it over, we're going to be moving over 4 thousandths, which is basically the thinnest shim in here, right? We're going to be moving it over just that much, just that little tiny itty bitty piece. Makes a difference, it's crazy. Anyways, when we get that centered, the goal is now you're basically preloading the bearing. So as you press it in there, you got to kind of knock it in place. You've got a good preload on it. And I'll show you how, again, I'll show you how to read the backlash on it in a second. And when the backlash is right, we just got to do one last thing, and that's we're going to do a pattern. You put like a grease, waxy mix on it, and you just roll it through the process. But let me show you how you check the backlash after we install the... It's not the funnest job to be able to set it up, but if you take your time and you do it right and you just go at it piece by piece, you know, like if it just slides in really easy, it's probably too loose. Like bearings that are set on a shaft, you know, it's a press fit. So this is really kind of a press fit right now. So you saw the first time we put it in, it was real loose. See, now we're kind of tapping it in place. Now it's a press fit. That's a good sign. So here's the fun part of it. When you got a skilled set of hands, the backlash is how much, this is tight, Jeffrey. Yeah. We're down to like 6. Yep, right? That's what I said. So you can't let the front of the yoke move at all, but can you hear it? Here, I'm gonna put my microphone for you guys so you can really hear it. Put it up there. Like, listen. That's what the backlash sounds like, but I'm gonna show you how you measure it real quick. All right, now that we got that thing set up in there, what we got to do is take a dial indicator, their magnetic mount. You just set it up and keep it parallel with the gears, and we're going to measure the whiplash. It's actually not whiplash, it's backlash. But what backlash is it's telling you exactly how deep the gears are set into each other. Once we got that down, look at that. It's about 7. That's spot on with where we want to be. Now, that doesn't mean that the pattern is going to be absolutely perfect. We got to do the old paint the gears, and we'll look at the pattern and see how she comes out. And then we'll be done. All right. So what we're doing, putting a little bit of this goop on here. Right, just a little bit. We'll brush it on this side because we're testing the driven side right now of the gear set. You can see I got like 5 or 6 of them. That's good. Get it on the back side, right? Nice brush. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually load the pinion and the gear into both drive mode and basically a coast mode to see what the pattern actually looks like on it. So I want to be having the wheels go forward. See how it's turning this way? What I'm going to do is put resistance on it like this. So I'm pulling back on that ring gear because what I'm trying to do is get the pattern set into there. So that paint and that glue and that goopy stuff is going to be painting on there, and we're going to look at how it has affected the pattern. And I'm hoping it's good because I don't want to take it apart again. Sometimes you got to take it apart a few times. All right, now I'm going to repeat the exact same process. So what we're doing is acting like you got the car in reverse, but really where it comes into play is when you're driving your car and you let off of your accelerator and you're coasting down. Basically the momentum of the car is still pushing forward, And this is the angle, and this is the pressure that you're actually feeling in the rear end. So if you guys have ever had a car that's like whiny on decel, you know what I mean? So usually the worst part is like the neutral position where you're just engaging or just going into the neutral position. So this would be the decel mode. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the pattern now and see what we got. See what you're looking at is the wear pattern is what the material that's taken off of each one of these gears. What you're looking for is it to be kind of dead center. We got this thing a little bit close to the inside of the ring gear. Would it be okay? Maybe, but this is a high horsepower car and God, that's just the way we do stuff. And this is for Max. So it looks like, let's finish up the episode anyways. You can see what it takes to actually do it right. The best part of the episode for me always is getting to the Bible, right? Sharing the word of God with each other and maybe praying I get that ring gear on there right next time. Come on, let's go see what the good word has to say. We're going to actually jump into my favorite part of the episode, which is the Bible study. The reason I share it with you guys is because I got a Bible study about 8 years ago, and it really helped change my life. And we're in the Bible study right now. We were talking about David. We watched the House of David. That's like a Netflix show. I watched that all the way through, and then we got to talking about him, so we started thinking about him. So we started reading some of the Psalms, and then in Samuel, the book of Samuel, it actually talks about David's life. And he did some really dumb stuff, and he did some really good stuff. But you remember David and Goliath, the story that's in there. But anyways, David wrote a lot of the Psalms that are actually what I'm going to read today. So we've been bouncing back and forth, trying to do the research around David, reading some of the things that he wrote in the book of Psalms, and then Samuel, which is when David became the king, and there's a big story behind that. But you guys have all heard this. Probably heard this verse before. It's Psalms 23, and it's really kind of encapsulates the Christian lifestyle for a second. I just want to read it to you and share it with you. Ready? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pasture. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I won't fear evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table for me in front of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So you guys have heard that, but I'm going to break it down for just, I know it's a long episode, but I think it's kind of important. If you break it down a little bit, what it kind of means, right? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. I mean, if you really believe in Jesus, you really believe in God, you're not going to be in want. And then he makes you lie down in green pastures, and he lies me beside quiet waters. Think about that. He's like, just chill. Just take it easy for a little bit. You know, God's got a plan for your life, and I say that a lot. Like, if you follow his plan, man, he's going to restore your soul, and that's what it says. He restores your soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his own sake, right? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'm not going to fear evil because I know God is with me. He says his rod and his staff, they comfort me. Prepare a table before me in front of the presence of my enemies. You bless me. You anoint my head with oil. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So if you kind of put it all together, like, God's got a great plan for your life. He'll take care of you when you're tired. You're not going to be in want if you can have some faith and follow through about reading the word, man. This is the divine word of God. He's got a plan for your life. Read it. Ask him to guide you. Get involved with it. If you guys need a Bible, please reach out. I've been buying bunches of them. I'm in stock again. So if you need a Bible, I'll just send it to you for free. I want you guys to have it because I believe this can change your life, and your soul means a lot more than these stupid cars or anything that's money driven, right? Your life has a purpose, and God loves you. He died on the cross. I love building these cars. I love sharing with you the unswapped LS car. Wasn't that fun? Next week I got something kind of special I'm going to share with you. But again, if you need a Bible, reach out, man. It's all good. All right, God bless you. See you next week.